The RTX 2080 and 2080 Ti are finally here, and they promise to not only raise the performance bar, but to change the way we play our games. With the move from GTX to RTX, we're essentially seeing a change in what a graphics card can actually be, as each GPU is divided into segments that will handle different tasks. The usual graphics processing, or rasterization as it's known, is handled as normal, while additional cores are then used for deep learning anti-aliasing and real-time ray tracing. I'll talk about all of this in a bit more detail a little bit later in this video, but first we need to talk about the new cards themselves, because look at this. This is completely new for the Founders Edition, and it looks incredible. Both the 2080 and 2080 Ti share the same new cooler, and it ditches the old style blower for two 13-blade fans and a new vapor chamber, which promises better temperatures and of course lower noise levels. If you're in a really tight case, then it may be that the old style would have been the better choice, but it's really interesting to see Nvidia shake things up this time around, and it's going to be something that's going to be very interesting to see how the market adopts. Evolving on from previous generation cards, we've still got the classic silver colour scheme with a solid metal design and clear attention to detail. It not only looks like a luxury bit of kit, but it's by far the best looking and best feeling Nvidia card to date. Each card comes equipped with an entirely new I/O, with 3 DisplayPort 1.4 ports, a single HDMI 2.0 and then USB-C. And it's really great to see that USB has been implemented here, as it will mean easier connections to things like VR headsets and high-end computer monitors. Both the 2080 and 2080 Ti do support SLI. There's now an NV finger, and it's located at the top of the card, but in terms of power there is a slight difference between the two, as the 2080 uses a single 8-pin and 6-pin, whereas the 2080 Ti uses two 8-pin power connections for all of that juice. Drilling down into the specs a little bit, the RTX 2080 is loaded with 2,944 CUDA cores, 8GB of the brand new and even faster GDDR6 memory, and then a boost clock of up to 1800 MHz. The RTX 2080 Ti, on the other hand, completely knocks it out the park with 4,352 CUDA cores, 11GB of GDDR6 memory, and then a boost clock of up to 1635 MHz. The really interesting thing, of course, is that the new cards can do more than just the usual game rendering thanks to the completely new architecture, and as such, we now have a new metric of measuring their capabilities. Nvidia is calling this RTX Operations, or RTX Ops, and along with GigaRays, it will show just how good a card is at handling this new sort of parallel rendering. And that actually leads us on nicely to the real selling point, if you like, of these GPUs. The ability to almost recreate the way we think of a graphics card and to go beyond the usual game processing. Each GPU consists of 3 subsections with shading and compute cores as usual, but then also the new tensor cores and RT cores. The tensor cores can be used for additional image processing that will run in parallel to the shading work being done by the compute cores, with the benefit here that there's a higher level of capability and performance. It seems that there are many applications that these cores can and will be used for a little bit later down the line, but right now Nvidia is talking about their latest supersampling technology known as DLSS, or Deep Learning Supersampling. This will increase the fidelity of your games by, in a way, scaling up the image to a higher level of detail. And it works by making comparisons of each rendered frame to a previously generated 8K sample that's all run through a deep learning network. It will only work in supported RTX enabled games, but the clever bit is because it's using those tensor cores, it will free up your usual compute and shading cores that are usually used for anti-aliasing, and thus you'll be getting a higher level of frames per second, higher performance, while maintaining the quality that you'd expect from anti-aliasing. The main caveat is that at the time of filming, it requires you to be running in 4K resolution to actually enable the tech. I'm sure this may change in the future, but it's something to bear in mind at the moment. Then there's the number of DLSS enabled games, which is a fair number at 25, but obviously there are plenty of games that I'm sure you play that won't be using the tech, at least at launch. The real buzzword this time around though is ray tracing, a technology that allows for lifelike shadows and reflections to actually be displayed in your game in real time. As with the deep learning tensor cores, the technology is enabled this time around with the use of parallel processing done in the RT core. The RT core, or ray tracing core, can calculate the exact path a ray of light will take, and it allows for an entirely global illumination for shadows that work as they would in real life. The the effect can be pretty breathtaking, and may even make games easier to develop and code going forward. But the bad news here though is that while there are 11 ray tracing enabled games, and these have all been confirmed and will release, the number of supported titles at launch is going to be 0, as Microsoft have not yet released the Windows 10 update that unlocks the DirectX features that are required for it to work. We'll hopefully know more in October, but for now, like myself, you're going to have to make do without. So I think that that's everything you need to know really about the technology, in a nutshell, how it works, and why RTX is different to previous generation graphics cards. It's all really exciting stuff, and obviously I can't wait to get benchmarking this and share the performance numbers, but I am not allowed to do that yet. That will be coming next week in the full review. What I will say about the price is that yes, these are very expensive cards. You are paying for the additional technology within here. So if you're not at all interested in that, then bear that in mind. Something is only worth what people are willing to pay for it. And if you do not think these technologies are worth it, then maybe this graphics card is not for you, but we will cover all of that in the full review. I hope you've enjoyed this video though. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. Share this maybe with some friends that are thinking about RTX, or someone maybe that wants to know how it works. If you have enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Have I said that already? Get subscribed. The usual stuff. You know, come on, help me out here guys, I'm trying. That's just sad and embarrassing, isn't it? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.